Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, welcome to a early edition of Tuesday's C2C Rank Em. Yes, I know it's a Monday, but got some commitments tomorrow, so we would not be able to do Tuesday C2C Rank Em. So we're bringing it early on a Monday, but we will replay it for those that are watching on Tuesday or later time. I'm joined by always my prime moose, Tim Hendricks. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. If I don't get to say it, tell your wife happy birthday.
Yes, I better say it here too. Happy birthday to my lovely wife. That is why I will not be on tomorrow. We are getting the day and getting away for the night. So hopefully got good news next week on maybe a little bit. So with that being said, this week we are going to do kind of our Mount Rushmore at different positions, groups, I guess we'll call them. Big shout out to the Crime Dog for getting into the Hall of Fame finally. I know it took a special committee of 16 people to vote him in, but still a great honor for him. Long overdue. So, Tim, what do you think about that honor?
I completely agree. I think Crime Dog. I think he should have been in a long time ago. He had the numbers to prove it. I think the fact is that he's lumped in with the wrong, with the steroid era. I think it hurt him. But if anybody's ever watched Fred play, probably one of the cleanest players you'll ever meet. But he's pure professional on and off the field. I don't think they're, except for Dale Murphy for the Braves, I think nobody else deserves it more than Fred McGriff.
Yeah, scandals aside and stuff like that, you're probably correct. But you put the scandal people in there. I mean, of course, Pete Rose deserves it, Barry Bonds. I mean, but for people that aren't tied to scandals, I mean, those definitely are two people that deserve it the most. So, with that being said, we're gonna go around and give our top fives at certain categories. So, we're gonna start off with the backstop, the coach on the field, I guess, the one that probably has to learn the most for each lineup, the catchers. So, Tim, your top five, number five catcher.
Just so everybody knows, these are players that we saw play. So we're not. Yes. We kind of made that stipulation, or we'd be all looking at probably the same five in each of these entire categories, just different orders. But I went with somebody who was drafted late, very late, and he was drafted by, I want to say he's related to Tommy Lasorda in a way. I think that's one of the rumors, or somehow he's related to somebody in the Dodgers organization. But I went with Mike Piazza. I think Piazza was, between his time with the Dodgers, his time with the Marlins, his time with the Mets. Again, another guy who's a consummate, is one of those professionals that behind the backstop could probably call a perfect game, balls and strikes, knows everything that he knows he can for every battery that he's got to face. I think he's one of the top fives that I've seen. I've never seen him live at a field, but I've seen enough of him on TV and how people talk about him. So I had to go with Mike Piazza at number 5.
Okay. Yes. No, great pick. And I think he's if don't get me wrong, I think he started the Rookie of the Year run with the Dodgers. I think they had 4 or 5 in a row, I think. But for me, yes, I'm gonna go with the homer pick. and a lot of people know I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, but talent-wise, he's got more talent in his peaky than I probably have in my whole body between both of us, actually. I'm going Joe Mauer. He could have went football. He decided to go baseball. Twins drafted him ahead of Pryor for the Cubs. So, yeah, he's done a lot for the catching. But, yeah, Joe Mauer is my number 5. For you, number 4.
Number 4, he just retired this year. When you think of the St. Louis Cardinals and you think of the backstop over the last 2 decades, you only think of one person. You think of Yadier Molina. To me, Yadier Molina, I hated facing the Cardinals every year, and especially being a Brewers fan, and you've got speed on the base paths, and you look at it and you got, oh, who we facing today? Is Cardinals? Are we is Molina behind the plate? Yeah, forget it. We're not getting any stolen bases. This guy had one of the quickest moves to second that I've ever seen from the catcher spot. Can't bat for crap, but if you talk about any catcher who's coming into the league today, and if they didn't say they learned anything from Yadier Molina, I would be putting that guy back on the fast track to AAA.
Yeah, I'll admit right now, I had a hard time keeping him off my list. He is not on there. But everything you said is totally true. But my number 4 is a guy who I thought also had a quick release, and he could do it from the squatting position. I mean, Pudge Rodriguez. I liked him as a catcher, and if I wasn't a lefty, I would have definitely modeled my catching game after him. If I wanted to be a catcher, because yeah, he could gun him down just from the squat. Even the splits, I've seen him throw. But yeah, Pudge Rodriguez number 4 for me. Your number 3.
My number 3 is your number 5.
Oh man, are you serious?
Man, when I did get to see, when I had tickets to go see the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
And it was a half season. It was half home season. And I remember you got to pick your games that you got to go to. So instead of 82 games, you got to pick 30, 46 games or 50, 40, 43 games. And one of the series, the 2-game series that I always wanted to go to is to see the Twins play, because I always had this thing for Joe Mauer and Justin Morneau. Even though I wasn't being a Brewers fan, so we always saw them 3 times a year, 3 to 6 times a year because of interleague play, and having that rivalry back from the AL Central and the AL East. I always admired everything Joe Mauer did, his work ethic, everything he did. He's a, like you said, he's one of those catchers that everybody wanted to work with. It was to see him make movements. I've never seen a quicker third pitch. His move to third base is nuts.
Or first he had a quick first. Yeah.
You didn't run. You didn't run on Joe Mauer. It's Yadier Molina and Joe Mauer had the 2 quickest moves I've ever seen. It's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. It was yeah, you're right. I mean, Joe Mauer had a quick throw to the corners. At one time, all 3 brothers played in the Twins organization. So, but my number 3 is your number 5. We kind of flip-flopped. I got Piazza because, I mean, Dodgers, like you said before, and yeah, he started the string of Rookie of the Years with the Dodgers. And, he just had one of those swings, too, that wasn't overpowering swing. It was nice, smooth swing for a right-handed hitter. Probably one of the sweetest swings for right-handed hitters. We always talk about the lefties having a sweet swing. Piazza had kind of a sweet swing. So that's my number 3. Your number 2.
My number 2 is your number 4.
Oh, wow.
I every time I saw Pudge play, It seemed like it was scary. I never got to see Pudge play. I got to see Pudge play on TV,
Yeah.
All-Star games. Truthfully, I don't think the Florida Marlins win the World Series if it isn't for Pudge Rodriguez. I truthfully don't think that pitching staff is as good if Pudge Rodriguez isn't behind the plate. I truthfully give all the credit to the World Series Florida's got on Pudge Rodriguez. You've got other players, but Pudge Rodriguez brought everywhere he seemed to go. He seemed to bring this maturity. Even when he was younger, he was so mature. He knew how to call a game. Probably one of the more immaculate calling catchers in Major League history. And it caught another one. All five of my guys on my list are all consummate professionals. Unbelievable to watch.
Yeah. My number 2 retired last year, the year before, from the Giants, Buster Posey. Another guy, I think he's got like one ridiculous stat where he allowed 21 pass balls in his whole career. Something like that. It's a very low number for as many games as he's caught. Was the cornerstone behind the Giants winning those World Series. I think, like you said with Rodriguez, they might not win with him not calling those games. So I got Buster Posey as number 2. Your number 1?
My number 1, I know isn't on your list. I already know it.
Okay.
But he's the reason why Ivan Rodriguez is called Pudge. I've got Carlton Fisk.
Ooh.
To me, because Carlton Fisk was another one of those that he wasn't afraid to tutor catchers coming up.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to catch bullpen sessions for people. He wasn't afraid to work with pitchers. Right now he could probably be a pitching coach in the major leagues just because he knows the ins and outs, and he's been in the league so long. I think he came in 74, 75, maybe. Everybody remembers his times with the Red Sox. I remember his times with the White Sox.
Yep.
I think the White Sox don't. Yeah, granted, White Sox didn't win any World Championships under him, but I don't think the team is as strong as while he was there if it wasn't for Pudge Fisk.
Yeah, you're right. I actually did. Here's another one I had a hard time keeping off. My number 1. I did go back a little bit in my childhood, but I just remember a lot of people talking him up. Professional on and off the field. Is Gary Carter with the Mets. I just remember everybody talking about how he was always, the leader in the clubhouse, stuff like that with Doc Gooden and Strawberry and them guys. So I got Carter as my number 1. So I've already named a couple off my list that I had a hard time. How about you? What did you have a hard time?
Carter was tough.
Yeah.
Carter was really tough. Who'd I have? I had a rough time. Jason Kendall. Jason Kendall. I remember when he signed with Milwaukee. I'm like, oh dear God, we finally got a catcher. I can't believe how much we finally got a catcher. The one that Milwaukee traded to Texas, it's so bad that I can't remember his name now. Oh my gosh, I think he just retired. He just retired this year. Or no, he retired last year. God, I can't remember him now. That's gonna get my fans are gonna shoot me for this. But I think there's who in the world am I thinking of? Lance Parrish for Detroit.
Yeah, he was a decent one.
But Gary Carter stuck on my head so much.
Yeah.
And like I said, Carter and Kendall, both of them. I remember Kendall playing for the Pirates.
Yep.
And he ran one of the most gruesome injuries I ever saw. He was running to first base, stepped on first base, and broke his leg. And I went, okay, that's enough. And then he was back the next year and better than ever. And I was like, Okay, he's got my vote.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably gonna be saying there's a lot of people we left out, especially when we get to pitchers and outfielders. I guarantee there's gonna be tons of guys we're gonna leave off the list there. So let's go around the infield. I don't know how you did it, but I just went top 5 infielders. And I know I left a lot of people off the list. So who's your number 5?
Um, I went with Bo Jackson's teammate in college. I went because I did get to see him when he was with the White Sox. And then I turned around and I saw him again when he played for the A's. I saw him the first time I saw him with the White Sox. It was for when I was at the Brewers game. But when I saw Frank Thomas play, that kid could have played. Kid could have played pro football. That kid played. Kid was an all-star. He's a Hall of Famer in my books. If he's not, but yeah, Frank Thomas. That guy was a truck. I saw that guy. I saw him take it. It was shoot. He was standing on third. He took a foul ball by Konerko off his knee, and he ran home. I'm like, are you crazy? But yeah, I've never seen a guy that size, that built, that fast, and he was a tight end in college.
Yeah. No, Frank Thomas was a big boy. Yeah, you're right. Number 5 for me, I believe he started off as a catcher, moved to second, then eventually went to the outfield to second. But I like Craig Biggio when he was an infielder with the Astros, the Killer Bees. Craig Biggio got around the field. I mean, like I said, he played catcher, went to second, and then center field, so straight up the middle. So you're number 4.
My number 4. I went back a little bit. I went back and a little bit, and I remember he's always flirting for 300, 400 batting average, and you look at it and you go, how can this guy do this? And when you see him play, I got lucky. I saw him play when he was with the Rays. But Wade Boggs, that man, he played a great corner. He played a great third. But the thing that I always remembered about Wade Boggs was the fact is he hit for average. He made people look silly. He made shutdown pitchers look like they were little leaguers. He knew ball placement. Granted, he's got himself a little bit of off the field controversies, but nothing along the lines of other people. But I remember watching All-Star games just waiting to see Boggs and Mattingly and just because those guys hit for average, and I wanted to see where he was gonna put one against maybe Randy Johnson or Roger Clemens or somebody like that. And it was always fun to watch. I liked it because he played small ball, long ball. He played the consummate game, and he played a hell of a corner.
Yeah. No, you're right there. For me, yeah, I went back a little bit too. Great leadoff hitter. Great guy at short. The guy had range from probably foul line to foul line if he could. Ozzie Smith. I just love the wizard at short. All the highlight reels plays that he made deep into left field, gunning guy at first. I mean, there's nobody else. Well, there is somebody else, but Ozzie Smith was definitely a cornerstone for me growing up watching. So you're number 3.
My number 3 is you're somebody else.
Okay.
My number 3 is you're somebody else because I've been lucky enough to see Derek Jeter play live, to see him go line to line, foul line, deep out, line to line. And Derek Jeter is probably the first person to tell you the reason why he's playing shortstop is because of your guy. And I've seen him, and he's that all-around shortstop. It's absolutely crazy. He could have played any spot on the field and been an all-pro Hall of Famer at any spot. It's Derek Jeter. He's the captain. It's the reason why he's the captain.
Yeah. Number 3 was my other guy. It was Derek Jeter. For everything you said, I mean, the play that he made in the Oakland series, I think it was coming down, catching the cutoff and shuttling it to the catcher for the out. To his last at bat, I believe, if I recall, was a game-winning home run. I think.
Yeah.
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 So, and then watching him and Andy Pettitte come out and take Rivera out. I mean, like you said, he was the captain of the Yankees. Love or hate the Yankees, you got to respect Derek Jeter. And yeah, he's another guy too that made tremendous plays, foul line to foul line, could play to anywhere. No one's home. So, all right, you're number 2.
My number 2, I went back farther. And the guy that's known for having 3 names for some reason, and I never understood why they always called him this. And he played for the Phillies. I went to third base, and I went with Mike Jack Schmidt. I love Schmidt. Again, another guy I never saw play in a stadium, but being lucky enough where we were born in the 70s, you and I were born in the 70s.
Yep.
Schmidt played until what, 85, 84, 85. We were lucky enough to still watch a Hall of Famer play, and somebody I think that's in the 500 home run in the 500 home run club. To me, he's the best third baseman in Major League history. Mike Schmidt can, and the thing is, he's another one that did it right. He did it the way you're supposed to do it. It's always going to be Mike Schmidt at third for me.
Yeah. My number 2, possibly the biggest clutch hitter in postseason history, biggest guy to biggest move the Twins let go, David Ortiz. Just it seemed like every postseason he had a big moment in there for the Boston Red Sox. So yeah, number 2, David Ortiz for me. Number 1.
My Uzi infielder is your number 4.
Oh,
Ozzie Smith. I don't know how many games I sat and watched Ozzie Smith and go, why? Don't even hit to that side of the field. Why do you even bother? Because it's just hitting into a wall. You're just hitting it into where other teams, it's like you're hitting into the ocean, you're hitting into a wall over there. And he'd be an all-star and a Hall of Famer today.
Oh,
that's how amazing, and that's the type of range, and that's the type of player Ozzie Smith is. You didn't expect him to hit home runs. He's hit one home run. He hit one home run, and he hit it in the 1985 World Series. One. And it's crazy, but the guy, every shortstop will say, now they'll say, okay, we learned after Derek Jeter, but Derek Jeter learned from Ozzie Smith. Now I want you to think, if the San Diego Padres hadn't traded Ozzie Smith to the St. Louis Cardinals, they kept Dave Winfield, they kept Tony Gwynn, they kept Dennis Eckersley. Do you think that team would have been a dynasty?
Yeah, it would have been hard to argue it. I mean, those Hall of Famers. I mean,
it's crazy.
He's hit more than one home run. I mean, but he's known for that one home run.
Yeah, he's known for that one.
Yeah, he's had. I mean, trust me, he hasn't had more than one home run, but But yeah, he's known for that one home run. For me, my number 1. Yeah, he's more known for the streak, but Cal Ripken Jr. I mean, you play that many games at short, and then you move over to third. You play that many games there to keep the streak going. Yeah, I know there's a little. Well, he only played an inning or 2 to keep the streak going, or he played DH. Yeah, but to be able to pencil that guy in that many times, no matter where in the lineup, in today's game, I mean, I couldn't even tell you who's the closest guy to or the most active streak right now because everyone's taking days off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my number one. But yeah, there's a lot of people we left off. I mean, I can't even tell you the list right now. I mean,
I got two off the top of my list that people are going to look at me going crazy that I put Boggs on, but I didn't put Brett. I didn't put George Brett on. I didn't put Robin Yount, who won an MVP at shortstop. I didn't. That's how much of a homer I'm not. It's crazy. That's just Joe Morgan. But I think Joe Morgan was winding up when we started watching.
I mean, yeah, Molitor, Roberto Alomar,
Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean, there's Mattingly, McGuire, Pujols. I mean,
yeah, that one might get me shot. The Pujols one might be the one that
might get me too. If there's a certain Cardinal fan that is buddies with me on.
I've got cousins that they're right near St. Louis that go to Cardinals games and I but he knows that I'm not he knows I'm a Brewers fan, so I'm pretty safe.
Yeah, but
but I got Ozzy on there, so I should be covered.
Yeah, we got Ozzy on there, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, even maybe Ventura. You can probably sneak in there.
Not if you take 7 punches to the head by Nolan Ryan. I don't know if I put Ventura on that.
That is true. That is true. So, all right. Now, this one I know for a fact we're going to leave a lot of people because, I mean, we're covering 3 outfield positions. So it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. So let's go top 5 outfielders. You're number 5.
I promise our number ones are the same. I'll promise you right now.
Okay.
Number 5, I went with the all-time hits leader. I went with Pete Rose. I mean, the guy's Charlie Hustle. I don't care if he bet on baseball. He bet on his team to win. I'm sorry, but that by itself should be telling you that the guy had enough confidence in your team to bet on you. The guy was money. I'm like, this is a guy who I don't know how many times he led the league in hits. I don't know how many times. I'm like, yeah, he's got the record, but it's how he did it. It's there's a reason why he's called Charlie Hustle. It wasn't because he took a day off. It's because it's Pete Rose.
Nope, I agree with you on that 100%. And he could have probably been both infield and outfield. Mm-hmm. I think he played mostly outfield, but my number 5, after this year, dude's going to get paid. I know it might be too early to put him on a Mount Rushmore list, but
a little bit.
He keeps hitting the way
I know who you're going. A little bit too early on the Mount Rushmore.
He is probably a little bit too early, but it's my wish list for that the Twins make a move for him, and I know it's not going to happen. Aaron Judge, the guy can play. He's a big dude. The guy can move in the outfield. He can play center field. He can play left. He can play right. He could probably play third, first, second, short if you want. I'd hate to see the guy get on the mound in a blowout game, but as long as his, stays out of the steroids book, the guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Keeps putting up numbers like he did. Aaron Judge, probably my number 5. Your number 4?
Truthfully, I think if Aaron Judge has 2 or 3 more years like he had this last year, I think he's walked himself into the Hall of Fame at that spot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the year he had. My number 4, Aaron Judge reminds me a lot of. And I remember, and he's still playing, so and James Gonzalez is going to be really happy that I put him on my list. Mike Trout. To me, Mike Trout is he's a fluke. Yeah. He honestly is a fluke. And he did and he got nothing but better after Pujols signed with the Angels. I mean, he picked the brain of everybody he could. honestly, if Trout could have gotten out of his contract and gone to St. Louis and learned even more, I think it would have been even better. The kid, I remember they kept calling him the next Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow. And the numbers he's putting up there are Mantle-like numbers. It's crazy. And he's been in the league, what, 12 years? 12, 13 years?
Like that, yeah.
And, yeah, he had a down year. But, again, how many people didn't have a down year? Okay, Aaron Judge. I get it. Yeah, Aaron Judge did have a down year. But it's crazy to see what he's done. It's been fun to watch his career. It's amazing to watch Trout play, and he's got range for a guy who's built like a fullback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got speed, he's got range, and he's built like a truck.
Nope. I can't disagree with you because that's who I have at number 4. The one downside to him is that he's injury prone. And I think that's one, besides the team that he's playing on, that's one thing that's keeping me from considering him the face of baseball. I know a lot of people are saying he's the face of baseball, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you got your opinion. Him being injured and him being on the Angels, not getting to the postseason, to me, that's kind of keeping him from that. I hate to say it. I'd say Aaron Judge or Bryce Harper in the face of baseball right now, or maybe even I can't think of the pitcher now. I'm thinking of Ohtani, yeah. But yeah, if Trout can stay healthy, maybe he needs to move to DH. As you know, like you said, James would be happy. We talked about that, moving Trout to DH a little bit to keep him healthy. So, but yeah, Trout number 4, number 3.
I picked the fastest outfielder in Major League Baseball history, and no, it's not Vince Coleman, and it's not Darryl Strawberry.
Darryl Strawberry
I was lucky enough.
Darryl Strawberry wasn't fast.
I was lucky enough to see this guy play back in '85 when I went to a Brewers Oakland A's game, and I remember seeing Ricky Henderson. And Ricky Henderson was I've never seen anybody that fast outside of a football field or the Olympics. And the thing about Ricky, what's his record? Over 100 stolen bases in a season?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Nobody's going to touch that. Nobody's even crazy enough to touch that. But the funny thing is, when I was playing football in high school, and when we were taught how to pull with our first step. And we were taught that our first step has to be pointed and it's got to be quick and it's got to be in the dirt. When you look at Ricky Henderson, we learned by doing the things that Ricky Henderson did, because his first step he's got lightning quick first step going to second, and it's crazy to watch.
Yeah, you look it up. Ricky Henderson, 130 stolen bases, 82.
Yeah, that was his rookie year, wasn't it?
That I don't know offhand. I know he's been around forever.
Oh yeah.
But they also said that in 1887, huge Niccolo stole 138, but they didn't credit the runner with stolen bases. I don't get it.
But yeah, they didn't count it as a statable. Yeah.
But I'm with you. I got Ricky at number 3 too. Just the speed factor. His Trout around when he hit a home run, he had a sweet run around the bases, pretty fast too. I mean, he got around there. But yeah, there's no doubt that Ricky probably one of the fastest guys. I mean, even RBI baseball, I think it was the first year, had him so quick that you could steal second and third on the same play before the catcher threw to second. I mean, that was one big glitch in that game. It's like, well, I just turned this single into a triple because I'm going to steal the next 2 bases.
Right.
So yeah, Ricky Henderson, I had him on number 3. So you're number 2.
I'm starting to think our top 4 are going to be the same at this point.
We'll see.
Because it could be, because I'm going to tell you, when you see this guy swing, it's the sweetest swing in Major League Baseball history. And this is the reason why they say lefty. This man's swing is the reason why they call the lefties have the sweetest and the most prettiest home run swing in Major League Baseball. And the fact is, when he was with the Seattle Mariners and got a chance to play with his dad, it was amazing. I was lucky enough to see Ken Griffey Jr. play. Yeah, the kid, and the reason why he's the kid, the true kid. The kid had the mind for the game. The kid, he's older than both of us, but everybody still calls him the kid. But he had, and it's because of his dad playing with the Yankees and Billy Martin and all and everybody else that was with the organization, and he learned so much, and he passed it on into his son, and you could just see the knowledge that Ken Griffey Jr. had. He hit for power, he was a complete outfielder. No, there's one other one that's a complete outfielder. We all know the other one. But yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. It was a bucket list to watch him play. And it was amazing. But yeah, the kid, it was such a pretty swing. Yeah, I can't get enough of Ken Griffey Jr.
Nope. My number 2.
No, you didn't put Ken Griffey Jr.
No, but I liked this guy when he was in Pittsburgh. Went to the Giants. Yeah, controversy, but still had
Bobby Bonilla.
If we put a list of the best contracts ever in baseball, Bobby Bonilla is top 1. But Barry Bonds, I liked him when he was with the Pirates. Liked him with the Do I consider the home run king? Of course I do. Yes, I get it. You guys say it's steroids related, but steroids can't make you hit the ball. It could just make you hit it harder and farther. So maybe some of his home runs were barely home runs, and some of his barely home runs are outs. But my number 2, Barry Bonds. Your number 1.
My number 1 is your number 1. I can tell you right now. When this guy,
my number 1 is your number 1.
Oh, my number 1 is your number 1. I can guarantee you at this point.
All right.
Because if you don't have Tony Gwynn as your number 1, you don't watch baseball.
Locked it in.
Tony Gwynn has walked more times than he has struck out. Come on, this guy played the game. It's crazy, and I get lucky enough to have his kid in our farm system in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I was so when they drafted Junior to the Milwaukee Brewers, I was like, sweet. I'm hoping he's half the outfielder that his dad is. We're going to the World Series. That didn't happen.
Ain't this kid playing for the Padres now?
I think he might be with the Padres. I think he's in the Padres system, but I think he's been in the Padres system 6, 7 years, 8 years now. He's been in for a while. But Tony Gwynn, that's another guy. Tony Gwynn, to me, it was like the All-Star games. It was always like Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs. Who's going to win? Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, and George Brett. Who's going to win the batting championship that year? And it was always between those 3 for a 7-year period, and it always made me sick. But those guys, Tony Gwynn. It's just Tony Gwynn. If you don't know who Tony Gwynn is, I promise you, go look him up. It's worth the look, because it's our generation's best outfielder.
Yeah,
our generation, not.
And I just am going to take my baseball fandom card and throw it in the garbage. I don't know how I left him off the list, and I'm sorry for my little outburst. Callan, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I have the much up respect for Tony Gwynn, and I left him off the list. I don't know why. I can't even give a good reason why, because my number one is your number two. I got Ken Griffey Jr. Sweetest swing. The guy felt like he was. It looked like when he was playing the outfield, he was just flying. I mean, he was just smooth out there. And like you said, him and his dad playing together, hitting back-to-back home runs. I mean, I think Griffey Jr. hit his home run before his dad even got back to the dugout. As claim to fame. But and I'm sorry for my little outburst there.
FCC is going to fine us.
Yeah, exactly. I just but yeah, I am ashamed of myself. Everybody can rip my list now. I don't know how I forgot to put Tony Gwynn on there. Oh man, I could kick myself. I mean, Aaron Judge doesn't deserve to be on the list now that Tony Gwynn. Yeah, I blew this list. I apologize to all the Padre fans.
He bucknered the list, folks. He bucknered the list.
Yeah, I bucknered that list. I Jose Canseco did in the outfield, off the head. Oh my God, Colin, if you're watching, I'm sorry, bud. All right, so let's move into our pitchers. Hopefully, I don't screw this list up. Maybe
this would be fun if you did. I'm hoping my top two are your top two, because if not, somebody else is going to have a problem.
All right, let's go with our number 5.
I went, truthfully, if this guy isn't on the staff in the 90s, the Atlanta Braves aren't as good. And I've got friends that are Atlanta Braves fans, and they're not going to agree with me. But if Greg Maddux isn't in the pitching staff, Greg Maddux, they don't honestly, I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't think they're as good as they should. When you've got a number one like Greg Maddux, Smoltz, Avery, your 2, your 3 look nice, but yet they're world beaters in their own right. To be honest, if Greg Maddux isn't winning Cy Youngs, Smoltz is winning a Cy Young. Avery's going to win a Cy Young. But it's Greg Maddux. Or Glavine. Yeah, I forgot about Glavine. Holy smokes.
All right, so my number 5, I ain't going to lie. I had a hard time, so I added 3 of them and you nailed it. Maddux, Smoltz, Glavine, Avery. I didn't put Avery on the list, but Gladys, Maddux, and Smoltz, definitely. If it wasn't for that 3, the Braves aren't nothing. I mean, those 3 could have been top starters in any other team, and they made a run for sure because of them 3. Yes, they did not win the rings, but I mean, they had 14 straight playoff appearances, something like that. I mean, the 90s was down.
Yeah, they got 1 World Series ring, and I think they made like 4 or 5 consecutive World Series.
Yeah, they lost in 91 to the Twins, so that's all that matters. So, all right, you're number 4.
And I'm not going to hold it against Atlanta for stealing the Braves from Milwaukee. Not going to hold it against them. Most people who know me know that I'm not a Yankees fan. Can't stand them. But we brought him up when we talked about Derek Jeter. If you don't have Mariano Rivera, when you got a pitcher coming in, and I was lucky enough to see Mariano Rivera pitch 3-4 times, and to hear Enter Sandman, granted it was in Tampa, so they're not playing Enter Sandman, but it's enough to me to see it's just to know that three strikeouts, it's over. It's just done. Rivera was so lights out that when you get the it's like Eckersley giving up a home run to Gibson in the World Series. When Rivera makes a mistake, it's monumental.
Yep.
That he never did it so much. He never did it a lot, and Rivera was just that shutdown relief pitcher. He reminded me a lot of Lee Smith when Smith was with the Cubs. and Lee Smith would pitch 3 innings where Rivera did it in 1. Yeah, Mariano Rivera without a question.
Yeah. People know me, Tim. I'm not a Yankees fan either, but if I had to buy a Yankees jersey, it'd be Jeter, it'd be Rivera. I think he's the first pitcher to have a walkout music when he came in. He was Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods, because you knew he came in, it was lights out. Tiger Woods, when he wore that red and black outfit on Sundays, you knew it was over. And if you got a piece of it, you're happy.
Yeah.
And if you made Rivera, if you took a mistake and got a run on Rivera, you're ecstatic. You might have lost the game, but you're like, hey, I got a hit off Rivera. I made him pay for it. I made him work. And yeah, he didn't pitch too many 8th and 9th innings, but when he did, I mean, you knew it was over. So yeah, Rivera definitely solid bullpen guy. Number 3.
Wow, he wasn't your number 4. Okay, I wasn't. Wow, now I'm going to start really questioning things because I know your number 3 isn't my number 3. I already know this because as much as I've got Mariano Rivera, I'm pulling the homer card out. And no, I didn't go Raleigh Fingers because I saw Fingers pitch, but I went with Trevor Hoffman.
Oh,
I was lucky to see Hoffman come into a game against the Astros and close out a game against the Astros, and he had walkout music.
Yep.
And Hoffman was one of those, and Callan will agree that he was another one that if it got to Hoffman, you might as well start shutting off the lights and getting the shower ready because this game was over.
Yep. No, Hoffman's a definitely good pick. No, you're right. He's not on my list. My number 3, the most recent pitcher that has dominance, and if the guy can stay healthy, he'd be lights out every start. Just signed with the Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom. I can't say enough about him. I mean, the guy's healthy, unhittable, but the guy can't stay healthy. And I mean, there was a big debate in one of our chats here on C2C on somebody thought that deGrom was getting disrespected with his health issues. It's like, dude, he's been healthy, yes, or hurt, yes. Healthy wise, we're not debating. Probably one of the best pitchers in today's game.
Oh yeah,
but you can't count on him every 5 starts. If you get a full season out of him, great. Probably going to put up Cy Young numbers. Even in a short season, he's putting up Cy Young numbers. He's just not qualifying. So he could probably be a 4-time Cy Young award winner right now. He's just not healthy. So, but I got deGrom at number 3. You're number 2.
My number 2, my number 1 could probably be interchangeable. Yeah, but I would look crazy if I did. To think this guy started with the Montreal Expos is kind of crazy. And then he goes to see what Randy Johnson does in Major League Baseball. And that pitching staff in the Montreal Expos organization at the time was nuts. You had Dennis Martinez, you had Pedro, you had Dennis Martinez, you had Pedro Martinez. I think you had Ramon Martinez at the time. Ramon was with the Dodgers. But to look at that pitching staff back in the late 80s, early 90s, and Randy Johnson is your bell cow. I've never seen a pitcher have as much control and as much. No, my next guy. But to do what he did and now become an NFL photographer is crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's.
All right, we lost Tim there for a second.
He's
back. He's back.
He's back in the.
Oh, maybe. So we're having a little technical issues with Tim.
Maybe.
Back, bud? Okay.
I'm back. You back?
All right.
But everybody remembers Randy Johnson, but the one thing everybody remembers of Randy Johnson is being a bird murderer during the during spring
Playoff.
training.
Or spring
And that
training,
is his, and the funny thing is that's his logo for his photography. That's for his photography business. Is the fact is it's that exploding bird from
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, my number 2 is Randy Johnson.
Yep, I couldn't disagree more. Randy Johnson on the hill. I mean, the guy was what, 6'7", 6'8"?
6'7".
On the hill, he was probably 7'2". I mean, the guy, with his reach, I mean, the ball got there probably a lot earlier than people expected. But yeah, I mean, if you don't know Randy Johnson, yeah, like you said, he started with the Expos, went to Seattle,
Houston.
Arizona.
I think he was in Houston for a cup of coffee.
Yeah. But yeah, the guy was just, and like you said, I mean, most iconic thing that happened was he hit a bird in spring training. But yeah, I didn't know he was a photographer. But yeah, Randy Johnson, definitely, the big lefty. So you're number 1.
You want to take a guess? Because I think you know.
Did we mention him on the show already?
I think we may have mentioned him on the show about Robin Ventura.
Yeah.
The most famous headlock in Major League Baseball. It's got to be Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
If it's not Nolan Ryan, you're probably born in the 90s.
Yeah.
Haven't looked up any records in Major League Baseball history. The longevity he had, the length of his career he had.
No Cy Youngs, though.
No, yeah, it's kind of strange. And any I don't think he's got any World Series either. Was he on the Mets team, the amazing Mets back in 50?
Oh, let's see here. But anyways, keep going. I'll look.
But seven no-hitters.
Yeah.
Has the major league record in strikeouts. I believe he has the major league record in wins. The man
69.
He did one with the amazing Mets in 69. Yep. I know he was drafted in 65, but I think 60. Yeah, I believe 60. No, he was. I can't remember. I know it's 60s. But what that guy did in baseball, he's the reason. He's the first $1 million contract. He's the first. He's had so many firsts in Major League Baseball, and to see what he's done, and now I think he's what? Is he the GM in Texas?
No, I don't think he is anymore.
No, but yeah, it's crazy. It's just to think Robin Ventura thought it would be cool to have a run-in attempt at WrestleMania with Nolan Ryan and decided to think that was a good idea.
I think Ventura's the only one to get 7 hits off of Nolan
Ryan.
It's
everybody says that, and it's the fact is that Nolan Ryan's the only person to ever get 7 hits off of Robin Ventura because he's got himself in a headlock and
he just pounded him.
Oh, I've never seen that and I've never seen it since. But yeah, Nolan Ryan, there's a reason why it's called the Ryan Express, and it's because the guy threw 100 miles an hour. The guy was pitching for 4 decades.
Yeah, so yeah. Nolan Ryan, unlike my outfielders, Nolan Ryan was a given that he was number 1. But just to reiterate, I mean, he played for the Mets, the California Angels, the Houston Astros, the Rangers. 8-time All-Star, World Series of 69, 2-time NL ERA leader, 11-time strikeout leader. His number is retired with the Angels, the Astros, and the Rangers. He's in the Angels Hall of Fame. He's in the Astros Hall of Fame. He's in the Rangers Hall of Fame. He's of course, in the MLB Hall of Fame. The records that he holds 51 records, most strikeouts, 4 career 19-plus strikeout games, 5 career 18-plus strikeout games, and so on. 25 games that he struck out 15 guys. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Of course, the 7 no-hitters. 215 10-plus strikeout games. I mean, it's just, I mean, you just go, like you said, if you don't know who he is, you don't know. I mean, 12 one-hitters, which is tied with Bob Felder. And then, like we said, the most iconic thing is, his headlock against Robin Ventura. So, all right, let's get into our managers, top 5 managers, which this one could be all over the board. So, who do you got number 5?
This is the funny one. When we were talking about doing top 5 managers, I had my 5 managers already.
Okay.
It was already, and I'm like, oh wow, this one's going to be easy for me. To me, the Yankees aren't the Yankees in the 90s and in 2000s. There isn't a resurgence of the Yankees without Joe Torre.
Yep.
Truthfully, the Yankees. Joe Torre was such a good manager that Major League Baseball signed him as in their front office. Come on, it's Joe Torre knows how to run a team. He knows how to put the best foot out there. And if Joe Torre's not there, I don't know if Mariano Rivera is a superstar. I really don't.
Yep. For me, number 5, along with the pitchers that he had, Bobby Cox, they probably ain't Bobby Cox without the team he has. I mean, yeah, 1 World Series ring, 16 postseason, 200, 2,500 wins. But I gotta go Bobby Cox at number 5. Number 4?
I've got Sparky Anderson. I don't know how many times I listened to Detroit Tigers baseball. Again, that's another one. If Sparky, Jim Leland, everybody's going to say that Jim Leland brought Detroit back. You didn't watch baseball in the 80s. You didn't listen to Detroit baseball in the 80s and the early 90s. And for some of you that might be Cincinnati Reds fans, if it weren't for Sparky Anderson, I don't think the big red machine is going to be that good. Yeah, I saw it too.
Okay.
But yeah, to me, Sparky, Sparky Anderson. Wasn't sure if I was going to put him 2 or 3, but I put him at 4 because 2 or 3 are pretty much easy to write in. But yeah, to me, Sparky Anderson.
Okay. My number 4, he finally got over the hump this year. Everywhere he's gone, he's been a winner. Teams respect him. Towards the end of his coaching career at certain stops, he's probably lost the locker room a little bit, but he rebounded. Dusty Baker, just shy of 2,100 victories, 1 World Series, of course, this year, 1 as a player. And I counted, I think he's been in the postseason 12 times. So, everywhere he goes, he's winning. So that's my number 4. Your number 3.
My number 3, I'm going to guess is in your list somewhere. Truthfully, if you ever hear the name LA Dodgers, you only think of one person. To me, it was Tommy Lasorda. Every time I sat there and listened to Tommy Lasorda, you don't think of Dave Roberts. You think of Tommy Lasorda, and he was always good. He was always good for crazy things on the field too. He wasn't just the manager on the bench. He was the third base coach for the LA Dodgers too.
Yep.
He was always on third base, and he had to go off of third base because he almost got killed by a bat that almost took him off of third base. So they put him in the dugout.
Yep.
But to me, every time you listen to a Tommy Lasorda press conference, it was like listening to like listening to Ditka sometimes.
Yep.
Because some things that Ditka said, it almost seemed like Tommy Lasorda would have said it first. But he knew how to put together a lineup. It was amazing. And truthfully, to think that he could put a guy who shouldn't be playing into a spot against the Cy Young Award winner, to put in Kirk Gibson against Dennis Eckersley in Game 1 of the World Series, and think, oh, I knew it the whole time. No, okay, it's just crazy. But yeah, my number 3 is Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah. My number 3, your number 5, Torrey. I mean, like you said, if he's not there, Yankees probably aren't the Yankees. And we know how the Yankee ownership at the time, if you weren't winning, you were gone. I mean, how many times did Billy Martin get fired and then brought back and stuff like that? But Torrey,
7 times.
Yeah.
7 times
Exactly.
got fired.
So, but yeah, I mean, 2,300 wins, 15 playoff, in four rings. So, yeah, and then he moves into the front office. So you're number 2.
My number 2 is the opponent for Tommy Lasorda in a World Series. It again, and think about it, the thing with La Russa was the fact is everywhere he went, he knew he was a great judge of people's talents. He knew their strengths. He knew their weaknesses. Wainwright and Molina wouldn't have had the numbers that they had if it weren't for La Russa. I don't think Pujols would have had his numbers, but if it weren't for La Russa putting him in the right spot, he doesn't have those numbers. You don't put together a group like the Bash Brothers in Oakland if you don't have somebody as well-minded as La Russa. And to think that he kept on with Carney Lansford as their catcher in Oakland when he could have not Lansford, Terry Steinbach.
Yep, Steinbach.
And truthfully, he understood everything goes, and he understood that he could, if he needed to, he could put Dave Stewart on a 3-game rotation if he needed to.
Yep.
He knew everything about his players. Yeah, he's had his little off the field BS, but who doesn't? But to me, La Russa, I was always scared to watch La Russa teams because we weren't going to win. That was almost a guarantee.
Yeah, no, I got La Russa there. Up until, he's got 2,900 victories. I don't think he should have came back for the White Sox. I think the game outdated him, and it shows. You jump your player, which again, old school guy, you don't hit a 3-0 pitch, jack it to Yosemite Park, in a blowout. But
right,
yeah, but like you said, La Russa with the Oakland A's, with the Cardinals, three titles, 14 playoffs experiences, and you don't have the Bash Brothers, you don't have the guys in the Cardinals organization if you don't have him. So I can't wait to see who your number 1 is. So let's go to it. Your number 1.
Your number, and this one was easy for me. It was really easy. I don't know why. My number 1 is your number 5. Truthfully, if Bobby Cox isn't the manager of the Atlanta Braves, I don't think he was smart enough to know that he needed to get Greg Maddux. He was smart enough to know that he needed to get Justice, and heck, even Deion Sanders understood, and Brian Jordan and all the players that were on that team. And the thing that always reminds me of Bobby Cox is the fact is, and I always admired it, but he holds the major league lead for ejections by a manager.
Yeah.
And the fact is that he went out there for his players and put it out there on the line, knowing that he's going to get tossed for his players. I think, to me, says a lot about what type of a man he is for his team, which made me admire him. If I ever played baseball, I always wanted to play for a Bobby Cox type player because he wasn't afraid to go out there and just to say to heck with it. I'm going out there because you did. I'm going to back my players, and that to me was always Bobby Cox.
Yeah, for me, we kind of reversed it a little bit. My number 1 is your number 4. I got Sparky Anderson. He to me was just everybody respect him. Even newer managers, liked how he managed the game. He definitely would not like this analytics BS, and I think there's even times he's smoking a cigar in the dugout. I mean, the guy was so laid back and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't talk Tigers baseball unless you talk Sparky Anderson as the captain there. So got a few. I mean, we're over a little bit. So Tim, why don't we go with our personal favorites? Who's your number 5 personal favorite?
My number 5 personal favorite is Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. was just fun to watch. It's just, again, I've said it enough on here. It'd be beating a dead horse at this point. But
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr., he was just the guy to watch.
Yep. For me, number 5, he's on my infield list. Ozzie Smith. Yeah, I had him 4th, but people are gonna say, well, you have him 4th on the infield list. Why is he number 5? But I liked how the guy could just go, 3rd to 2nd and cover so much ground. So that's my number. Your number 4.
My number 4 is you had him on your infield list, which is strange because I always thought of him as a DH. Is definitely David Ortiz.
Yeah.
I've got lucky to see him, and he's just one of those guys that just had fun playing the game. Like I said, I got lucky to see him play. But he was just fun to watch. It seemed like he was always having fun playing baseball.
Yep.
To me, it was always amazing to watch.
Yep. No. My number 4, we had him in our pictures, both at number 2, Randy Johnson. I just like how, just intimidating. I wouldn't want to face him, but yeah, number 4, Randy Johnson. You're number 3.
My number 3, I don't have him on any of my lists.
Wow.
But I remember when he came to Milwaukee, it was amazing to watch and to see a guy pitch on 3 days rest and to bring us back to the playoffs in 2008. And I couldn't believe that Milwaukee would pull such a big trade to get him. But when CC Sabathia came into Milwaukee, it was almost like he was at home. And then when he left, it felt like our hearts were ripped out because we're like,
Nope.
oh, we're going to get him for 4 months, 3-4 months, and then we're going to have it just cut out on the table because he's going to go play for the Yankees. That's another reason why I don't like the Yankees. But yeah, CC Sabathia was just another one. A guy that looked like Yogi Bear. He had the shape of Yogi Bear, and he's pitching 98, 97 miles an hour.
My number 3, had them both on our list, both at number 3, Ricky Henderson. I've always been a fan of his. The guy patrolled that outfield. Definitely one of my top outfielders. So yeah, Rick Anderson. You're number 2.
My number 2 is definitely Frank Thomas. It's just Frank Thomas to me. I know it's along the lines of you. Why do I got him so high in my personal list? But it's Frank Thomas. It's just one of those freaks. He's just like my number 1. My number 1 is a complete freak, an absolute freak. And no, it's not Ohtani. So whoever, don't think that. But yeah, Frank Thomas, with the size he was, the speed he was, the strength he was, it was just it's like it'd been like Dave Winfield playing basketball.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. My number 2 is your number 5, sweetest swing in baseball next to Will to Throw Clark, Ken Griffey Jr. He patrolled center fielder like nobody's business. And I know when I say my number 1, a lot of people are going, really? He's your number 1 over Griffey? But who's your number 1?
My number 1 is the reason why my number 1 is number 1 because the fact is he played in such a short time period. But what he's done and when he did play before he got a freak injury in another sport, would have been a Hall of Famer in baseball if he hadn't decided to like football way too much. Because what this man did with in both arenas is the true antithesis of the word freak. Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson would have been Superman in both football and baseball if he'd decided to pick one. and he tried it. And I mean, the things that Bo Jackson would do with a baseball is video game like, and it's just crazy to see him
Run
throw
up
a
the
guy
wall.
out at home. When he throws a guy out at home from dead center, it's freaky. It really is.
No, I definitely like that number one. I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't go a different route with number one with Primetime. I know you're a big Primetime guy.
I didn't like him as a baseball player. I like Prime, but I didn't like him as a baseball player.
Nope. I get that. But, again, everybody knows me, knows who my all-time favorite baseball player is. Number 34, Kirby Puckett. I can't not leave him off my list, unlike Tony Gwynn. But yeah, I had to go with the childhood of me growing up. I mean, never got to meet him. The closest I got to see him was driving home from a Backstreet Boys concert with the family. And my aunt looks over, and next to us was Kirby Puckett, of course, with his daughter and stuff. And she starts freaking out. Of course, I'm in the back seat, so I can't see him. So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people I left off, but yeah, number one, is Puckett. So, with that being said, guys, gave you a little extra here time. Please join us next week. But before we get to that, Prime Moose, you got any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. This is a baseball show, but if anybody who's been paying attention to ESPN or anything, I'm gonna drop some Oos report. It looks like the Carolina Panthers are going to release Baker Mayfield. That's something probably on a topic that we're going to probably talk about this Sunday on Morning Tailgate. Other than that, keep watching C2C. This show is not going to be is supposed to spark conversation, spark debate. If you guys have any topics that you guys want us to list out, we'll do them. Put them in the comments. But please stay tuned to C2C. We got great shows, and don't be afraid to watch them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we'll be replaying this tomorrow. We'll get Christopher Bacon to post it. We'll replay it probably one day this week, like we have been. But keep checking out C2C. I know we're in the talks of revamping some shows. Some people are moving on to other things in life, so they got to step aside a little bit. So we're definitely looking to that, but we still got great shows. Keep checking us out. And, of course, Tim teased it. If you haven't been watching ESPN or getting your notifications, we will be talking Morning Tailgate. We had a bye week this week. People had some scheduling conflicts, but we'll definitely hit it hard for next week's Morning Tailgate. With that being said, I'm Big B. My prime moves Tim Hendricks, my co-host. We'll see you next Tuesday, most likely 9 o'clock Central. I know we talked about changing it up a little bit, but we might keep it at 9. So with that being said, I'll have a good week. See you next Tuesday. Have a good one.